Women crushing it. Women crushing it Wednesday. They feeling undefeated. Queens of the ring like Christine is. If you get in the ring with Christina, you might catch a beating. Just tune in, you gon' have to see it. Stand up if you with us, if not, to be seated. You seen them in every arena. Eddie and Nika, who really got something to fight for. Everybody saying they're the goal. Who the one that slayed the Chupacabra? Your favorite girls.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Women Crushing It Wednesdays. I hope everybody's having a wonderful evening. I got my girl Crystal in the house. How are you doing, Crystal?
Very good, thank you. Very good.
Good. That's so good. So Nika's out for the evening. She had something going on, so it's gonna be Crystal and I. And but before we go any further, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Kush for the Sea, who does our wonderful intro. And HCP, you catch them every Monday, but I think they had a show today actually. So you know what? Just subscribe to D Style Boxing, hit the bell, and you'll get the notifications. Also a new sponsor, HCP Box Topics. That is D Styles and I show. So I'm super excited about that. Our first show was Monday, and it went really well. So I'm super excited about that. Super. But so we have a couple of guests that are going to be coming on, but our first guest is Tarik Zaina. So we're going to get him on here.
Hey.
Tarik, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, guys. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Yes, this is beautiful Crystal.
Crystal, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You have a very intriguing accent. I'd love to know what mix is going on there.
Yes. So we speak mostly Spanish at home.
Okay.
So
y'all have something in common.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So you speak Spanish, Christine, as well?
Yes, not as good as y'all do, but yes. So for the audience and everybody tuning in, so Tarik, right?
Yes.
I want to pronounce it correctly. So give some background on who you are and why you speak Spanish.
So well, originally I'm Moroccan. My blood, my ethnicity. I'm from North Africa, Morocco. But I was born and raised in a very small place called the Rock of Gibraltar. It's British overseas territories. The only thing is, geographically, it's located in the south of Spain. So everyone there speaks English and Spanish. English is the official language. Spanish is the second official language. So growing up, I spoke 3 languages because in my home, we'd speak Arabic because of my Moroccan background. But then when I was in school, I was already naturally good at languages. I started learning French, and it was very easy to get that from a young age. So now I speak the 4 languages, and then I went to university in the UK. But, when you grew up speaking a language, you don't really forget it ever.
Right.
And now I live in Mexico, so I'm daily speaking Spanish. So I'd say both English and Spanish are my mother tongues because I actually speak them better than I do Arabic. So.
That's amazing. That's amazing in the background and the upbringing. So you're a professional boxer and you are 12-0. Is that correct?
Yep, 12-0 and 1 draw.
12-0 and 1 draw. And you're living in Mexico. So
yes.
Talk to us about that. Why Mexico?
So I'm actually living in Tijuana, Mexico. If you look that up on Google, it comes up as one of the most dangerous cities in the world.
Yes, it does.
Which is surreal because it's actually a very nice place to be in. It might not be the best looking when it comes to architecture, but architecture doesn't make a city really. It's the people and the experiences you can have. I came over here on towards the back end of 2020. I was in England before that. I spent the whole of the COVID lockdown there, and then I wanted to convert pro. And the England professional boxing scene was like completely shut down. So I had 3 options on the table, and that was Philippines, Mexico, or Kazakhstan. Philippines and Kazakhstan were completely shut. but Mexico was open. So I was like, Viva Mexico, let's go.
Ah,
And
okay.
I just got a one-way ticket, and the plan was to be here for 6 months to try it out, get some fights. But here I am 2 years later, 2.5 years later, I'm still here, man. So that should say how good this place has been, especially in
Yeah,
boxing.
that has been good to you.
Oh yeah,
So, and that's so my husband and I went to Tijuana because we were working Tierra Brown's Corner, and that's actually where we met you at the trick or treat card.
that's correct.
Yeah, exactly. And you knocked your guy out, and the guy that you were fighting, they were like talking him up, like this guy
He had
is
a lot of experience. He actually fought Devin Haney and everything in his.
right,
Yeah,
exactly, and that he was a veteran, and they didn't know how you were going to be able to handle him,
I
but
think
you knocked him out.
yeah, that fight was very interesting because I didn't have the best of preparations because I got sick midway through camp, so I had a lot of nervous energy, and when someone has a lot of nervous energy, you're very like reactive, and so the cool, calm, relaxed sort of professional
Yes,
boxer attitude wasn't there that night. I was just very nervous and like, oh my god, what if I get tired? What if this? What if that? So I just luckily I caught him, right on the chin, and
I think it was a lead hook, I
yeah,
believe.
it was the lead hook on the ropes. As he was about to throw a punch, I caught him in between his
Yeah,
punch. So it was good. But the highlight of that night was obviously meeting you and your husband, and it was the start of a very blossoming relationship, and that to me was the highlight of that night.
oh, absolutely. I feel that too. And speaking of that, so what are your future plans? You're very talented. I mean, that's one thing that we saw. You could box. You could get dirty if you needed to a little bit. You knew your range. I mean, you were just very well put together. We were very, very impressed. What's
Thank
next for
you.
you?
So as you know, when you look at my record, my last fight was against the number 10 ranked in the world, Jesus Saracho, by the WBO. For the We fought for the WBO Latino title, so it was a pretty big fight. It was my first ever 10 rounder. I did extremely well. I won in literally everyone's eyes, but the official score was a draw. Two of the judges had it a draw. One of them awarded it to me. I was the away fighter on the other guy's promoters on his home turf. So that in itself speaks for itself. I don't have to
Absolutely.
go and start being a little baby cry about it. Uh, for me going forward, all I'm thinking about right now is just another test. I'm not too much into that smooth silver spooning smooth ride. I just want to get in there with a good opponent at a good level, and just prove that I belong at that level. I'm already top 10 in the UK. I'm just below top 100 in the world. So I'm just one fight away from
Yeah,
breaking into the big stage. I spar top level guys all the time. I know I'm on that level. That's why I'm very confident that once I get that opportunity, I will show up. I will perform. It's just a matter of time until you see me up there in the top 10, top 20 in the world. No doubt.
absolutely. Absolutely, I believe that.
Thank you.
And speaking of the UK, the UK has the best fans.
They do. That's
Oh my
very true.
gosh.
That's very true.
Yeah, it's like I remember. I think it was Crawford that said that they had the best fans. He got a lot of flack for that. But there have been others that have said that, and it's true. I mean, they fill up arenas and they are there for their guys and girls, and they travel all over the world. I love to see it.
That's
Um,
very true. England is world known for having the best fans, not just in boxing, but also in football, where you guys call it soccer.
yeah,
We have the best fans, and when it comes to a boxing night, for them it's like an event. They make a whole weekend out of it. They go to drink before, and everyone comes to the arena nice and vibey, and they love the sport, man. They know actually most people in England know about the sport of boxing.
oh, absolutely,
And it's a small
absolutely.
place. It's a small place. So compared to United States, it's really really small with a big population.
Oh my
So
gosh, it is. Yeah,
yes,
it is. I was blessed enough, fortunate enough to be there, a few weeks ago, and everybody was so great. They really were. I was very impressed, very impressed.
of course.
So we have a question for you. Would you
Yes.
be okay with fighting a Conor Benn at 147 if offered a chance, especially since the doping scandal?
Oh, that's a great question. Look, I'd
It
fight
is.
any man born from his mother, just like Tyson Fury says. Any man can get it. There's no difference between me and anyone else. We both have two arms, both have two legs, we both have a head. You know, 147 is not too much of a jump up. If you actually look at my record, I used to fight at 147, but I always knew I could make 140. It was just
Yeah.
a matter of the right opportunity.
Smart.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna start commenting about the doping case or the non-doping. If you were to ask what I think happened, I think he did intentionally dope because I've been following him since very early stages of his career, and I could observe a change in his mood and attitude in press conferences. He became very angry and very reactive to things, and he'd lose his cool straight away. And you know, I used to live with a bodybuilder who used to do steroid cycles, and I could see the change in his mood. So, you know, I could observe that in him. But again, what do I know? You know, I'm just another boxer out there with very little knowledge about all these steroid cycles and whatnot. But yeah, if offered the chance, I'd take it with both hands. Man, I wish they called me to fight him this Saturday.
I
But
know,
they
right?
called
It's so interesting though. Like he's gonna be fighting in Florida, like what, on the 29th or something?
23rd.
23rd. I mean, he kind of. I didn't see anything about it. Like they kind of like snuck him in there. I don't want to say snuck him in there, but it was just kind of like, oh, he's on the card. Okay, cool. Okay.
He's actually fighting a Mexican that I know. He's from Sinaloa. He's actually really good, this Mexican kid. And if this Mexican kid actually trained, like if he actually was training for another fight and this came up, he might cause some problem because he's got heavy hands, this kid.
Okay.
But again, it was 3-day notice. You know, I don't know how much you can take out of a 3-4 day notice opponent, really, can you?
Well, yeah, that happens all the time. Absolutely. Boxing pound for pound, Jack said. Also know that you were born in Morocco. Yes, we just talked about that earlier. Blessings to everyone affected by the earthquakes. Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, it was one of the most highest magnitude earthquakes in Moroccan history, apparently. Crazy.
Yeah. So, do you still have family there?
Of course. I got majority of my family, like I'd say a good 2/3 of them are still in Morocco. 1/3 are scattered around the world. But
and everybody's okay?
Yeah, of course. It was actually very far from where I'm from.
Okay.
I'm from the north, like very close to Spain. This happened in the south, close to the desert area. So.
Okay, good. Well, you know, Coach Haas, that's like one of his dreams to go to Morocco. So.
Well, guess what? Look, I'm wearing the T-shirt.
Exactly.
You guys are welcome whenever you want. Whenever you want. You'll have the best guide.
Absolutely would. Crystal, I know you've done some research and looked him up and stuff. What are some of your thoughts and comments?
So I think one of the most important things that I want to speak of with Mr. Tarik is the fact that he come from motivation. He pay his own way, right? So he take a risk on himself for this journey. He have goals in mind of what he want to do, and he believe in himself, and this is so important in the sport, right? So I think kudos to you for doing that, Tarik.
Thank you
I
very
think that
much.
is wonderful. You're going to a country where you know nobody, fighting in territory that is much different than where you are from.
100%. And thank you for bringing that up because a lot of people, when they see my record, you know, you have all these guys commenting, oh, you've been fighting bums in Mexico. What they don't understand is, you know, the scene here, it varies very much. You know, you do have these Americans that come over and pay substantial amounts of money to fight bums and they just like take a dive and walk over or whatever. But I didn't have that money because I came, like you said, I just came alone here by myself. So I was literally just fighting for free. Like I wasn't getting paid a penny. And I really didn't have a easy walk through as people would think. Like my debut, man, they put me against this, I think it was a 1-on-1 kid. I don't remember. I remember he had his whole family there with him. And it was in some gym, in some back street gym, God knows where in the city. And I remember I showed up to my debut and my corner didn't show up. I literally, they didn't even come with me. I just was alone. And there was about 3 fights left for mine, and I had to wrap my hands. And I remember just sitting there thinking,
gosh.
what am I gonna
You
do?
had to wrap your own hands.
No, I went and found the only English speaking people there, and I was like, "Excuse me, look, my corner
Oh my
didn't show up.
gosh.
Can you please help me out, wrapping my hands, and if you don't mind cornering me because I don't have a corner." And they ended up wrapping my hands and cornering me, and it was really hard fight, man. I took him out in the 4th round, but that kid, he didn't not want to go down. The ref stopped it on his feet because his whole family was there, and it was really, really hard fight, man. And I'm glad I had that experience because you know, I've been in that where someone comes to win sort of thing.
Absolutely.
The mentality is part of the sport, right? The mentality that you have when you go into the ring itself, this gets you somewhere, right? So
Of course.
now we're talking. You already sparred with folk like Maurice Hooker, right?
That's true. Yes, I did.
You spoke with Mr. Eddie Hearn yourself because you want to do that, right?
Of course.
So
I met him last weekend.
These are things that really help a person grow. So your
100%.
networking is wonderful.
I'm trying my
Wonderful.
best. I'm trying my best. It's what lets me sleep at night, knowing that I've done what I can in my power and leave the rest up to God, you know?
So I have one question for you. I want to say one thing, and I want to hear your response.
Of course.
O'Hare Davies.
Oh, man. Oh, look, you know, they're saying he's going to fight against that old man from Venezuela, that Ismael Barroso. Look, that's just politics. You know, look, one thing about boxing, you either have it or you don't. We know he quit. We know he's a quitter. Josh Taylor made him quit. Now, there is no real life example of a sportsman in any fight sport that quit and came back and made it. I challenge any of you to give me an example of a fighter who quit in one of his fights and then eventually came back and took over whatever he decided to take. That does not exist. So that means he doesn't have it, you know? So for me, when I'm put up against a guy like O'Hare Davies, who's a quitter, there's no way he would be. I don't care how much experience he has. I don't care who he sparred. I don't care where he trains. I know one thing for certain is when it gets down and dirty and we have to bite on the gum shield and see who has it, I know I have it and I know he doesn't.
This is a smack talk that Miss Naka like. Oh, we have to bring it in.
You could say it's smack talk, but it's just the truth. It's just
We
the truth.
love it.
Who has he fought? He hasn't even fought anyone. Look at his record, man. He's lost against the 2 best guys he came up against, which is Jack Catterall and Josh Taylor.
So safe to say you want this lad in the ring.
Of course I want him in the ring, but you know boxing politics. He's ranked number 1. I'm ranked number 10 in the UK. You know, what are the odds? You know what I mean? But bring it on, man. Any man can get it from anywhere at 140. No problem.
You ready?
I love that. Boxing Pound for Pound Jack said, I'm sorry, but Duran did say no mas. That's one example. Maybe the only one. Maybe the only one.
I mean, look, that's a good point. But don't forget, Duran didn't say no mas because he was getting beaten, because he was frustrated.
Right. He was
He could
frustrated. He was tired of chasing him around.
Thank you. It wasn't because he quit because he was getting a beating. No. He quit or he didn't want to carry on because he was so frustrated that this man was just running around in circles. He was like, you know what? I've had enough of this. That's it. Whatever. It wasn't like he was getting hit and he was like, oh, and he like curled out in the corner. No. That was out of frustration. Let's be honest.
That is so true. That is so true. And a lot of people don't realize, they don't know that. They don't know that. And
they don't know
still talk
boxing
about
if they don't know that. They don't know boxing if they don't know that.
Exactly. Absolutely right. That is so true. So you don't have to name the person, but the toughest, if you want to, the toughest opponent that you've ever had, what was the lesson that you learned?
Oh, that's a great question, Christine. So look, I'll be honest with you. Out of my 12 fights, you know, all of them were difficult. I'd say maybe 11 of them because that first round KO, that was difficult mentally because I was nervous and shit. But for me personally, the toughest one wasn't my last fight, although it may seem like it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was the one before my last fight. It was against this Colombian guy who was very strong, and it was in his home turf again, in front of all his fans, and I was there again alone, and man, he really came to take my head off my shoulders. And it was very humid as well in this town. So after like 3-4 rounds, I got very, very tired. And those last 4 rounds, it was like going to hell and back, man. It was so difficult. That was literally one of the few times where I had to get back to my amateur days of just jabbing and moving.
Right,
You know?
right.
Because if I stood my ground, he was really trying to take my head off my shoulders. That was a real test of fire. Because for my last fight, I was good. You know, it's just a few little things tactically that I had to fix. But it wasn't like I was getting a beating or something. Where with this Colombian guy, man, it was real tough. It was real tough. So to answer your question, it was that one.
Okay. So and so that fight, is that the fight that solidified that you belong in this sport to you? Or did you always knew, but did this solidify, like, you know what, no matter what comes my way, no matter what the temperature I was outside, no matter who's in front of me, I have every tool that I need to win?
100%. It was one of the things, but that solidifying that I belong in the sport happened a long time ago. Because I remember when I had about 15 amateur fights, I was fighting guys with 70, 80, 90, 100 amateur fights, and there was no problem. I'd belong in there just as good as they were. And I always like to use this phrase that I heard from Crawford: when my opponent raised the intensity, I raised the intensity too. You know,
Absolutely.
no problem. Like I said, we're all humans. They have 2 arms, 2 legs. You know,
Yes.
it's all in their head. It's all in your head. If you go in there thinking, oh, this guy has so many fights, oh, this guy is this, you already lost.
That's so true. That
If
is
you
so
go in there
true.
thinking, he's just a man, just like me. He's got 2 arms and 2 legs, and we've both trained hard. But I know I'm the more skilled guy, the more smarter guy. There's no way. It doesn't matter who you are, you know. Obviously, the one thing that certain guys will have on me is the experience, right? You can't buy experience. You can't envision experience. You can't create experience. You have to go through the thing. And
I think you've gone through a lot of things. I do.
and that was the only thing in my last fight that I was in unknown territory. After round 8, that round 9 and 10, it was unknown territory for me, right?
Right.
So that was the only thing where I was like, wow, this is new. But now
Yes.
going forward, I've already done it.
It's
you
not
know?
new anymore. Exactly.
Of course.
Absolutely. So Tarik, how can people follow you? How can we know about your next fights, your next moves, and what's going on?
So at this moment in time, my biggest social media platform presence is on Instagram. I'm building towards getting Snapchat and all this new wave of social media that's going on.
Me too.
I try and keep it minimal because I feel like it distracts you from training and whatnot. You start focusing more on posting
Right.
videos of you hitting the bag or you looking good instead of actually training and doing the good work. So right now I'm just keeping it to Instagram, so they can find me, but just writing my full name, Tarik Zaina, and I'll come up. I don't think anyone has that name in the world, so it makes it easy.
I don't think so.
And yeah, just follow me through there. I try and be as active as I can, but I am trying to create a new wave where fighters can still be big, but not be so present on social media, you know?
Okay, I like that. No, I thank you so much. Any
Thank
last
you.
words? Any last words that you wanna say,
Yeah.
or shout outs?
I just want to thank you very much for having me on. And as you know, Christine, I've trained alongside you and your husband before, and I can't
Yes.
wait to get back. It was a great experience. It was a great time being out there in Texas, and I definitely grew a fondness of Texas after I visited you guys, because I always had this idea of like Texas is all these like countryside people with guns and whatnot, but it's actually a really great place, man.
It is.
So-
It is. No, and it was our pleasure too, and I can't wait till you come out here again.
100%, and that's it really, you know. Just stay tuned. I'm one fight away from the big stage, one fight away, and that is happening before the end of the year.
Absolutely, and I
So,
cannot wait. I
so,
cannot
yeah,
wait.
thank you.
Chris, yes,
That's
Crystal,
all.
you have anything you want to say?
So are we shooting for a title fight next year? Is that what I hear?
Oh, 100%. I mean, they're shooting for a title fight this
Heck
year. Like I
yes.
said, if they call me and say me, hey, next 2 weeks time you're fighting for this, let's go.
Let's
Okay.
go.
Let's go. That's all. Thank
Let's
you,
go.
Christine. Thank you, Christelle, as well.
Yes.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much. You have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Thank you. See you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
So we have our next guest waiting backstage,
Okay.
Shawn. So we're gonna get him on here.
Okay.
That was great though. I love it. I love it. Yeah, Tarik, he's got to come back, and yeah, he's coming to Texas.
Not all of us are free.
Oh, he's a nice interview. Come on back to Texas. Not all of us are free. That's right. Absolutely. Get Shawn on. Good evening, Shawn.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
We are doing well. So, Shawn McCalman, is that it?
Yeah.
Am I pronouncing it right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, good. I'm Christine and Crystal. Nika couldn't
Thank you
make
for
it
having
tonight.
me.
She had something to do, but there's usually 3 of us. But we're still gonna have some fun and talk some boxing. How's your evening been?
It's been pretty good. Got home from the gym. Just been kind of chilling, hanging out, waiting to get on here.
Okay, fabulous. So I have to be honest with you. So I didn't know who you were until Lukey Boxing did a shout out and said he is an emerging prospect. So that got my interest because anything that Lukey says, I take as the word. He is the man. And then after that, I started looking up your fights. I started researching, and I was just like, oh my God. I was so impressed.
Thank
so
you.
impressed.
Mhm.
So do you switch?
Stances? Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was very impressed with that. And your feints and your footwork and your jab. I was like, yeah, this guy is definitely gonna make some waves. And I had I think I saw the fight that I think it was Cuba.
Yeah.
You threw some nasty uppercuts, man. They were
Thank
nasty.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. Crystal, what did you see? What impressed you about Shawn?
So, Shawn, the amazing.
Yes, the
Right?
amazing.
I
love
have the
it.
right lad. Yeah,
Mhm.
the amazing. I hear he one of the best kept secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, tell me about which weight you are pursuing right now. 160, 168.
Currently, I'm a super middleweight,
Super middleweight, right?
168. Yeah.
Yeah, 68. So you have a tough weight class there.
Yeah. The top guys, I think, are some of the best in the sport. The weight class doesn't get some of the recognition I feel like it deserves, being even that we have one of the biggest stars in boxing in the weight class. But
Yeah.
again, yeah, like I said, I'm hoping to be one of those guys that kind of helps to shine the light on not only myself but 168 pounds in general.
So you are naturally orthodox, but we switched to
Yes.
southpaw, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what did you think whenever you saw I don't know if you saw it or not, but on Twitter X, Bud had tweeted I'm 180, 168 is not far not far from that. What were your thoughts when you saw that?
I wasn't too surprised just because I've known him for some time, and I can remember some years ago back when I was still an amateur. We were kind of joking around with each other, talking about getting in the ring or exchanging punches with each other. And he was telling me, he's like, I want to say he was fighting at either 35 or getting ready to go to 40. He was like, yeah, I'm 167 right now, so don't think you're that much bigger than me. So I'm not surprised when I see things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to run it back just a little bit. I want to know why boxing, because I know that you've done many different sports in your life. So why did boxing stick?
Well, it stuck just because I feel like there's no feeling like there is from that comes from winning a fight, and because it's such an individual sport that a lot of the responsibility to win or lose is based solely upon you. So I like the idea that win or lose, it's completely up to me, and the work that I put in, I get to keep the glory for.
And that's special because a lot of people can't take that pressure. Like they need the team, because if they're having a bad day, somebody else is gonna do something for them. You can't have a bad day. Not when it's fight night.
Right. There's nobody there to pick up the slack for you, which, like I said, that feeling is unbeatable. Like I said, the feeling of going into the ring and going through a training camp and everybody, your team rallying around you to make sure that you're as prepared as you can be on fight night, and then, like I said, going in to the ring and handling business, and all eyes are on you and your opponent that night. There's nobody that's going to jump in to save you other than a ref or your corner. But there's nobody to pick up your slack. And like I said, I like that. I like the idea of that.
That's awesome. Boxing pound for pound Jack said, who is the best 168 in your opinion? Kazaki, Canelo, Ward, or was it B-Hop?
To me, I mean, I can't really say one guy, because 168 has been a division where a lot of guys kind of stay for some time and then pass by. I guess the best I could say from previous generation, of course, Andre Ward, just because of everything he accomplished along his campaign at 168, and then got to give Canelo credit for unifying all the titles, becoming the first undisputed champion in the weight class. So I was split it between those two guys for recent, but of course, you got James Toney, Roy Jones, B-Hop, Calzaghe, you name them. So there were many great guys, but the weight class hasn't been how can I put it, like unified, and somebody came and solidified themselves the way that Andre Ward and Canelo have done.
Yeah, that's very true. And speaking of Roy Jones, and I'm might be putting you on the spot, I don't know, but so we've seen in recent that he's working with Big Charlo as far as coaching and things like that. Do you believe that just any world champ could just kind of transition into coaching?
I mean, I think that it's always good to have experienced guys around, and guys who have been to the mountaintop and have accomplished, things that a lot of fighters won't accomplish, to kind of give you the pitfalls and the things to watch out for. And so I would say this: not every fighter, I'm not speaking about Roy Jones, but just any fighter in general, or world champion, is not necessarily qualified to be a coach, just because you have to have leadership skills and the ability to teach and the ability to do all those different things. Being a trainer is more than just having accomplishments. I would say you have to have the intangible things, like the ability to teach and the ability to break things down and simplify them to get a fighter to actually do them. So I say no. It takes a lot to be a trainer.
Answer. I love that answer. I agree with you too. And I also believe there has to be some kind of connection. Like, you have to be able to have an emotional connection, because as you know, you're in the most vulnerable state whenever you're in the corner, and your coach needs to be able to relate to you and tell you what you need to do and how you need to do it very simply, but also to make sure that you're okay and that you're going to go home to your family. Right. So I totally agree with you. Crystal, what do you think? I mean, some people are like, I was a world champion. I boxed before. I can coach anybody. What are your thoughts on that?
No, absolutely. I have to agree that there has to be some sort of chemistry there. And more so than the chemistry, you have to understand your boxer or your fighter or whatever type of trainer you are, from the inside out, because perhaps they have other things outside of the ring that are potentially lack of self-discipline, dangerous. You have to have that relationship so that you are able to call them out on that, right? A trainer is very important. It's almost as important as a spouse sometimes, right?
Right.
They need to be able to read you. They need to be understanding of you in all aspects, so that they are capable of taking your life in their hands when you get into the ring and they in the corner. So
absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. Shawn, so I know you did like so many different sports. So as far as your amateur background, when did it start and what did it look like?
So I had been training maybe for about a month, fresh off the football field, before I started actually fighting. I trained for about a month before the coach I was working with at the time decided that he had seen enough out of me to go ahead and throw me in my first amateur fight.
Oh
I
wow.
did lose. I lost my first 2 amateur fights, but I feel like it was experience. Like me, I'm like the throw you in the fire or throw you in the deep end of the pool to see if you can swim kind of guy. Like that's how I learn best. Of course, you know, you want to be calculated with those risks you take and calculated with the challenges you throw at somebody. But I didn't think it was too big of a challenge for me, just because after those first 2 losses, I kind of went on a really long win streak. Had some losses in here and there, but I had about 75 amateur fights. I always lose count, so I moved pretty fast once I
Oh
actually
yeah,
started.
that's quite a bit.
Yeah, did had a couple competed in a couple national tournaments. Won some Colorado Golden Gloves, won some regional Golden Gloves, and different things like that. So I definitely got my feet wet and got the proper seasoning I needed before I jumped into the pros. It wasn't a rush decision at all. I made sure that I got everything I could out of being an amateur, other than the Olympics, to before I turned pro.
That's fabulous. You know, and that's another thing that I didn't know you're from Colorado. So Colorado is my second home. I live in Texas, but I also live in Colorado.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was really cool. I'm in the Springs, so
Okay.
that's really cool. And there's a lot of boxing in Colorado. People just don't really know about. You
Yeah,
know,
it just doesn't get the recognition it deserves. Just, I mean,
no,
I get it, just because there's not a deep concentration of professionals
right.
doing things to the level that would make people really be like, okay, let's pay attention not only to this guy but Colorado. And again, I'm hoping to be the guy who's like brings attention to myself, my weight class, but even bigger than that, the guys coming up behind me and the guys who have yet to turn pro, who want to continue and have careers of their own. I would like to, make people realize that Colorado was a place where real fighters do come from.
So, Christine, you and Shawn have never crossed paths there in the Colorado.
No, we have not. And that's why, I was so surprised that I had never really known about him. So when I saw Lukey, posting about him, then I was like, oh my gosh, and he's in Colorado too. And he's very talented. And I looked at his fights and I was just like, how were you not on the radar until now?
Right.
So, but I'm very glad that you are now, because you definitely have new fans and we're going to be rooting for you. Yeah.
So, Shawn, you have even sparred with Steven Nelson, who is part of the Crawford team, correct?
Yeah. He's another guy I've known for some years. I've been working with him since even before I turned pro. Yeah, I've known those guys for, I want to say, a good 6-7 years now. So I'm very familiar with him, and I've done a lot of work with him and his guys, and even different guys that they brought down.
Interesting. So you go to where's your camp at?
I live in Aurora, Colorado. It's
right.
like a smaller city outside of Denver. But
okay, Aurora, okay. I had heard Denver, so Aurora. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm from an even smaller neighborhood called Montbello, but people wouldn't even be able to point to that on the map. So I just say I'm from Denver.
I'm Rowlett, Texas. Rowlett, where is that? You know?
Right. But of course they train in Colorado Springs, so when they come to camp, I mean, I just, it's not much to drive an hour.
Triple threat, right? Triple threat.
Right. Yeah, triple threat. Shout out to Coach Lev.
Yes, Coach Lev, that's my guy. Absolutely. So boxing, pound for pound, Jack, he said, as you said, 168 division is an in-between division. That said, what do you prefer, 160 or 175 in the future? And at what future division do you see winning a world title? Woo, let me take a breath. The quickest besides at 168.
Good question. But I've never fought at 160. I don't think since I've been 17 years old, I was anywhere even near 160. Like I said, I played football.
You're pretty stout from what I could see. So
I played football immediately before I started boxing. So of course, lifting weights heavy, big bulky guy. I was in the 190s before I started boxing, and then I dropped the weight pretty quick. But I definitely see myself at 175 in the future. That's where I really feel like I'll get the chance to really solidify myself. I want to stay at 68 a little while longer, while it's still easy to make the weight. But 175 is where I feel most comfortable, feel my best, and where I would like to be in the near future.
Nice. I like that. Boxing Power per Pound. He always has the best questions, and he's always awesome in the chat. He said, better be even Bivol at 175 and Janabek Charlo at 160. Who would you prefer if you wanted to move up or down is my question.
Again, 175 is where I see myself in the future. And whoever, by the time that I move up there, we can only speculate who is going to be the guy to fulfill or fill in for Better Biev. I mean, I think he's on the back end of his career if he doesn't have another weight move up, move up another weight in the near future. So, and with the WBC not allowing the unification for Undisputed. So what kind of, I can always say, like, I can speculate, but I don't really like to. But 175 was where I see myself.
Okay. All right. So as far as sparring, who has been the most instrumental as far as lessons learned and cautionary moves when you're in the ring?
Another guy you guys probably wouldn't know, but he's my brother, Eric G. He's somebody that I worked with for a real long time. I mean, some days we come into the gym and we didn't feel like doing anything else but sparring. We go 15 rounds. We spent a lot of time. But besides him, definitely Sergey Kovalev, just because at the time he was moving up in weight, getting ready to go to cruiserweight and make his debut there. And he was obviously a bigger guy than I was, but yeah, it was great work, and I learned that I can hang with world-class fighters, even though before that, of course, I worked with other world-class fighters, but to work with somebody who was as feared as he was and was, obviously a unified champion, the Crusher, so that was definitely a huge experience for me.
Yeah, there's always like you can work with the best, but there's always like somebody or that just like really makes an impact. So yeah, I like that. Mike Ramirez asked, who do you think wins, Canelo or Charlo?
I got to go with Charlo.
Okay. Then I want you to go deeper. Why and how?
Well, at this stage of their careers, I think Charlo has less wear on the tires, more athletic, bigger, naturally, great jab, great fundamentals. And he's somebody that we've seen constantly improving. Canelo, he's been kind of hit or miss lately with his performances. I mean, still a great fighter, still fighting at a very high level. But I think that Charlo is fighting. I mean, even though they're in different weight classes, I think Charlo's wins as of recently have been a better quality.
Crystal, do you want to add to that or?
That's very interesting.
Very interesting.
Yes, because I don't see it that way, but who knows, right? I don't know.
That's the thing. I mean, we can have our picks, but like I could be totally wrong, and I'd be okay with that. That's why I don't bet on boxing. Like, out of all sports that can be bet on, like, boxing is, even though as much as I feel like I know the sport and as much time as I spend watching it and all that, I would never bet on a fight just because literally anything can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Bud has his eyes on Canelo, obviously, because he really believes that Canelo's going to win. But let's say you're right. Let's say Charlo wins. How does the Charlo-Bud fight go?
That's a fight I would prefer to see that fight, just because there's a history between them already. I mean, the Canelo Crawford saga is relatively new, and nobody's really taking it serious just yet. There's certain things that have to happen before people really start to get buzzing about a fight, and obviously moving up in weight and taking the fight against somebody else in the weight class shows that you're serious about moving up in the weight. But even if you were to go straight to 68 and fight him, ain't no problem. But I would prefer to see the Charlo Crawford fight, just because of the history they have, even the history of him fighting Spence, who's a stablemate of his. I mean, there's a lot more history and a lot more that goes into that fight than Canelo Crawford.
Who win that fight?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, you're dealing with someone who's gonna come in not so much undersized, but the weight that he's gonna put on, we don't know, how it's gonna affect him. I mean, obviously, it's Terrence Crawford. Skills, the power, the IQ, they're not going to go anywhere, but it's a different beast. Weight classes are there for a reason.
Well,
They are. They used to say that nearly 5 years ago, the same thing. It was like the same dialect. They say, well, Spencer's at 147, Crawford's at 140. They have different
Right.
weight classes for a reason. And I'm not sure what happened July 29, but if I recall
See, but
correctly,
that's
it was a
different.
fish fry.
If you're talking from 135, okay, so I believe that there's like a change in biology when you start to talk about 160 and up. Like those are guys that there's something different about them. If we're talking 47 down, I mean, there's even a difference in the gloves that they wear for a reason. They wear an 8-ounce gloves versus, you go from 54 up, those guys are wearing 10-ounce gloves. So there's a difference, obviously, that people can recognize. So I like I said, it's a different ball game when you're talking about 60 and up.
I might be a little biased, so I'll buy that from you.
well, I mean, I am too, but I will say this. So I'm sure we've all stood next to Canelo.
Mm-hmm.
We've all stood next to Charlo, and we've all stood next to Bud in real life. And there's not much difference in size. I mean, if you're being honest, it's like there's not really much difference in size. But you know what? Honestly, like you, I would rather see Charlo Bud because of what you said, the history, the saga, the everything.
And also, I want to add this: walk around weight is different than
for
the
sure.
weight that you can perform best
Oh,
at.
absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I'm with you. Absolutely, 100%. And we also know what pretty much, I mean, not decisively, but we pretty much know what they're made of as far as the mental part and the pressure and the knowing and the manifestation that I'm going to be the greatest and I'm the best.
Don't get me wrong, I think that Terrence is the better fighter, but of course, that's why the pound for pound list exists and things like that.
Absolutely.
In my opinion, Terrence is the best fighter in the world. The pound for pound list obviously was created. If you put the 10 best guys in the sport and they're all in the same weight class, who comes out on top? I mean, to me, like I said, Terrence Crawford is that guy. But there's other factors that go into. There's different factors that go into. You have to add all the nuances that go into that as well.
And
like
you know what? Either one, like honestly, he's got his eye on Canelo because he just is very confident that he's going to win. But either fight, I'm buying it. Like $200,
sure.
Whatever. Like, tell me what I need to pay, and if I'm in town, guess what? I'm going to be there. So, and I know Crystal is, because Crystal has not missed any fights of Bud's except for one.
What?
So that's gonna be good. So something serious I want to talk about is all the stuff going on with the doping and stuff. The two biggest names right now that have been in the limelight are Conor Benn and Alicia Baumgartner. What are your? I'm not asking you to say whether you think they're guilty or not. I just want to know what your thoughts are as far as the dirty business even being present in this beautiful, beloved sport.
I mean, it sucks. I mean, it's terrible. But I mean, I hear rumblings and things like that, and it's a huge problem. I mean, I'm not like. I'm not
hypothetically speaking.
I'm not saying that anyone is or isn't guilty, but there's much more names out there that have yet to be caught than just the two that are on Front Street right now. Like even with the with those two big names being caught, I think I just seen on Twitter maybe yesterday that some guy who came in on short notice to fight in the UK, some heavyweight came in on short notice to fight. He lost the fight and got even after losing the fight, got a 3-year ban.
I saw that
for PEDs. Yeah, so it's like while you got these two and you're focused on these two, then they sneak one in.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And it's not okay because of the nature of the sport. Where the sport's already dangerous as it is. The risk
Absolutely.
involved in punching each other upside the head is not something that you take lightly. So for two men to get in the ring and possibly one come out not the same ever again, and then you add an extra advantage that's unfair, of course it's not okay. I think personally that people who get caught doing this, they need to be out of the sport forever. But that's just me. I feel like that's the only
I
way
agree with
that
you.
fighters would take it seriously, because when you can just say, oh, I ate too much of this, or I ate too much of that,
Right.
or I did this or I did that, and it's water under the bridge. It says a lot about the structure of the sport and the people who are in charge of the decision making when it comes to that. But that's as far as I'll go.
No, I agree, because I mean, when they say like, oh, they get a year ban, well, you know what? Maybe they don't even fight but once a year anyway. Is it
Right.
really going to affect them?
And a lot of times if your license isn't taken, it's usually guys just get banned by that state athletic commission. When it doesn't really matter when there's 50 different states and each one has its own athletic commission. So you could just go to another state, or you could leave to another country. So
Happens all the time.
Loopholes, million
All
loopholes.
the time.
What's up, kid?
Hey, darling. Oh.
What a sweetheart.
My little one.
So we have another question. Do you take protein shakes from your S&C coach without asking?
No, I don't. I'm 100% self-sufficient when it comes to nutrition and all those things. I've never had an issue making weight. I've never had an issue with refueling. I've done it all myself. And that's why I continue to do it all myself, just because I know my team has my best interest at hand, and I know they never go that far to try to give me some unfair advantage without even my knowledge. But I've always done everything myself for that reason.
That's good. Crystal, do you have anything on this subject?
On that subject, no. It's a problem in the sport. It's been a problem in the sport for years. What is the solution? If it was easy, it already be done.
Yeah.
There's no easy solution. And quite frankly, if we want to make an example of somebody's fixing to be mad. So there's too much money at stake.
Exactly. And that's why there won't be a centralized organization that is in control of all of this. I mean, boxing is very much a free market. It's like the ultimate American dream. It's a 100% free market. And that means free market of, different organizations that will be responsible for testing, different organizations that will make decisions about, positive or negative tests and different things like that. There's too much boxing, such a splintered sport that there's really no unified decision making organization. No.
That's so true.
No,
I have a couple of fun questions before we let you go. But before we get to that, Crystal, do you have anything else you want to ask?
Yes, I do. So not only ask, but first of all, Shawn, you're 14-0. You have 7 KOs, right? You just have a fight back in August, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With Mr. Powell, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And on the zone, you make it to the big stage. Yeah. So by the end of the year, what is your goal? You want to do 10 rounds, right?
Yeah.
How soon are we looking at a title fight?
I mean, I just said
you
yesterday,
waiting
all
till
the
you
titles
get
are
to 175?
No, I if it were up to me, I'd like a title shot at 68, but we have to kind of let the landscape of the division pan out just because all the titles are in one guy's hands. So for me, it's really about working myself into contention. So when the belts do go free, if it's in a timely manner, I'll be able to raise my hand and say, hey, let me have a shot at one of these, and I'll actually deserve it. And I'll feel confident going into that fight, knowing that I've beat world-class opposition, that I've, gone 10 rounds, 12 rounds, and, be fully prepared.
You just be signed with Main Events, correct?
Yeah.
You have a great management team, I understand.
Yes.
So
Jolene Mazone.
Yes.
Yeah, Jolene.
Yes,
Awesome.
Jolene. Yeah, that's
Love
wonderful.
Jolene.
So I have one messy question for you. They call it messy, right?
Oh, messy. Here we go.
Uh-oh.
Here we go.
So I see or I hear, however it go, politics. You spar with Mr. Berlinga,
Yeah,
and then you spar with my man Steven Nelson.
yeah.
How you do this?
When you say the politics, what do you mean? Like because I know they've had some back and forth.
Yeah, they do.
But
What they say Bumlinga. Steven want to fight him. He don't want to fight Steven. Why? Did you ask him that?
I mean, I didn't ask him, but I got in the ring with him, and I kind of saw why. If
Oh,
we're being
okay.
honest, but
Okay.
yeah,
I'll take that for an answer.
I definitely can see why all of the chasing is coming from one direction. I believe that there's somebody in the equation that is in it for ulterior things than to be a great fighter. But
Okay.
I'll let y'all decide who that is. But
Okay,
I'll just
yeah,
say that
yeah,
there's one
we
person
got
that's
you.
in it for this, and then there's one person that's in it, another person that's in it, who's in it for the right reasons, and
Got you.
like obviously has my respect. I've known him for years. I've worked with him for many years, and yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
That's my messy.
That's a
The
messy.
tea sipper section.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we close out, I have some fun questions. So when you get out, when you're done with your fight and you're gonna go eat with your family, your wife and kids, are we gonna do seafood or are we gonna do beef or chicken?
Beef for sure. Well,
Beef.
chicken or beef under no
Okay.
circumstances. So seafood.
Oh no! Under no circumstances.
Under no circumstances.
Is
seafood.
that you or is that the whole family?
That's just me personally.
Okay. So beef
Now
or
my
chicken.
son, on the other hand, loves the fish, the shrimp, all of that. My wife loves it, but me, on the other hand, I'm like,
He's my kind
get
of
that
guy.
sea bug out my face. Yeah, I'm a steak kind of guy. I'm simple.
Okay, I love steak too. See, I love it all. That's the problem.
Steak and ice cream. You like the ice
Yeah.
cream, right?
Yeah, and before anything, I'm like, I need the sweets before I have anything.
Okay, that's good. Okay, and then you're in your locker room.
Oh no.
You got your earbuds on. Are we listening to rock, R&B, rap, or country?
Sometimes I don't even listen to music. Usually, I'm just watching something like a podcast or maybe something like this. I'm watch a fighter interview, like things like that. I'm weird. Like I have
That's
days
not weird.
where,
That's not weird. You can watch any of our podcasts anytime.
right. Yeah, that's me. I
Give
like
us
to
a
listen
shout.
to interviews. Yeah, I got you.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. And then my last one. So you're at the club, okay, and it's a club full of boxers, and someone challenges you to a dance-off, and you got to pick your crew. Who are the 3 boxers you're gonna pick?
Canelo, just because I see his moves. He ain't afraid to show his moves off. Probably Tyson Fury, just because he ain't afraid to show his moves off
Love
either.
him.
And Gervonta Davis, he ain't afraid to show his moves either.
Oh,
So that'd be my crew.
Okay. He sure isn't.
Well,
Krista, what you got, Krista?
Robert Easter come to mind. That lad
Oh
can
yeah, or
dance.
Adrian Broner, any of those guys.
That Ohio crew, they have a dance,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They do have a dance. They do. So, last words. Where can people find you? What do you have coming up? All that good stuff.
So nothing on the schedule concrete just yet. Getting that worked out with my team right now. I definitely will be back before the end of the year. And again, looking for a 10-round fight for sure. Looking for, those kinds of fights, big fights. You can follow me on Instagram at theamazing.sm, TheAmazing.sm. On Twitter at Shawn M5280. The Amazing Shawn McCalman on Facebook. Just keep your eyes peeled. More big things to come in the future, and you'll be looking at me as the next big thing.
Absolutely. Crystal, what you got? Last words.
Hey, thank you to the chat. Thank you, Shawn, for coming on. We appreciate it very much so. And we wish
Thank
you
you.
the very best in your next journey or the next part of your journey, right?
Right. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on. Please, we want you to come on again.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
definitely want to follow you and everything that you're doing. You've got our support, and we wish you all the best. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you guys. You guys have a great night.
Yes,
Thank
you
you
too.
too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.